Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts. Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you. Thank you, Boris. There's a lot of energy in this room today. I like it. Kids have no filters. Do you know that? Dear Santa, please get me some things on my list. And there is some fruit salad and water to help your type 2 diabetes. Well, okay. Meant in love. Dear Santa, I like you. Do you like me? I would like a DS Mario, please. Next year, I'll give you money. How does that sound? Pretty cool? It does to me. That's the deal. That's from Nicole. Dear Santa, how are your reindeer? If you cannot buy what I want, take it easy on yourself. Just give me 10s and 1s in money. That's from Jonathan. Dear Santa, when it was Saturday, I thought I would try to be good for the whole winter vacation, but it seems I did not succeed. Will you still give me a present anyway? Love, Sophia. Dear Santa, please text my dad. He has my whole list. I love you, from Tennessee. And finally, this kid's practical. Dear Santa, if you bring presents that take batteries, bring batteries. As we're teaching our children about the meaning of Christmas, I remember as a kid, I had this experience. My mom's side of the family, we had drawn names. You all do that? And so I was probably at that age, maybe 11, 12, where I was not quite a little kid, but I got a shirt for Christmas from whoever drew my name. And I remember we were all opening our presents, and all the other kids were getting toys, and I opened it up, I put it aside. And my mom had a little talk with me about that, about being grateful and being a good receiver. And it made an impression. But I remember that was the moment when I stopped being about what am I going to get? That I realized I was being asked to be a little bit more mature about what this gift-giving thing is. We do celebrate giving at this time of year. Today, as we lit the third candle of our Advent wreath on love, I was reminded of one of my favorite definitions of love. Ernest Holmes, who was the founder of the Science of Mind community, he wrote the book, The Science of Mind, the Centers for Spiritual Living is our sister denomination in New Thought. He said, love is the self-givingness of spirit into creation. What he was trying to show us in that statement is the way that this one presence, one life, one source, one being that is all and everything. In unity, that's what our name means, that there is only one life and we are one with it. It is God's life living through us. This is the way that we differ from a more traditional Christian theology, which is dualistic, understanding that there is God and then there is not God. In unity, what we actually teach is that God is present everywhere. Omnipresent, everywhere present, omnipotent, all-powerful, omniscient, all-knowing, omnibenevolent, all good. That we do not accept that there is any place or any aspect of reality where God is not there. The life, the energy, the creativity, the possibility of spirit exists everywhere, including your life, my life, and all the spaces in between us. This is what we believe in unity. This is the power of our teaching. And what Ernest Holmes is showing us is that love is the reason why we have the infinite expressions of God. That each of us is a unique, irreplaceable, unrepeatable demonstration of God. That everything is created by love. In the Eastern traditions, everything here is considered to be Maya, or illusion, but we actually don't hold it that way in unity. We teach that it's real, it's temporary, but it's all God. And in the Eastern traditions, there is this idea of the formless, the void, nirvana, this pure potentiality of infinite wisdom, intelligence, and love and power. And what Ernest Holmes is showing us through that quote, that definition of love, is yes, that is true. There is the formless, that is the pure potentiality of God, and yet it must reveal itself in form, and love is why. The reason that you're here, the reason that this whole universe is here, because the infinite had to experience itself as creation. For God so loved that it gave and continues giving. And so our lives are expressions of the deepest reality, which is love. So as we light the candle today of divine love, what we're being called into is a deeper, more embodied realization that love is everywhere present, and we are here to be the delivery mechanism. Because we share the creative capacity with the Infinite One, we are always creating. And so when we create from a consciousness of unity and wholeness and love, the things that we demonstrate in our lives look like that. And when we are holding thoughts of separation and lack, we demonstrate that too. And so this is how in unity we explain the origins of evil. It's because we're all creating, all of humanity is creating all the time, and when we create from a sense of separation, and a sense of distance from God, we create forms that look like God is absent. And our work is to realign ourselves with the truth of reality, with the truth of who and what we are, and that we demonstrate love on earth. Does that sound like a good plan? All right. When we're not in the flow with this givingness of spirit that is love, we are like a fish out of water. We're not swimming in the sea of what we're designed to do. We're having a different experience. I don't know how I missed this wonderful poem by Hafiz, the 14th century Sufi mystic. You've heard me share many of his poems before. He was, I don't know if you know, Sufism is the mystical branch of Islam. The tragedy of the mosque bombing a couple of weeks ago in Egypt, it was a Sufi mosque that was attacked by other Muslims. The Sufis recognize, like unity, they recognize God present in all of us. There's a deep mystical understanding of God's presence and who and what we are. Hafiz wrote these beautiful poems about that experience of oneness in the 14th century. Of course, the idioms and this is a contemporary translation, but he was a rock star and irreverent in the way that he wrote. And this is a short poem. I'll read it and then we'll talk about it. The title is Damn Thirsty. First, the fish needs to say, something ain't right about this camel ride. And then, I'm feeling so damn thirsty. What the poet, the mystic, the teacher Hafiz is showing us in this little story, this little funny poem, is that we are the fish. We are designed, evolved to live in an ocean of perfect love. And yet sometimes we get out of that and we get on that camel and we go traipsing across the desert. So my motto, my mantra that I've decided whenever I feel myself not being in love is just to say simply this: something ain't right about this camel ride. I invite you to say it with me. Something ain't right about this camel ride. And imagine Hafiz's little fish that has somehow gotten itself out of the ocean of its native habitat and has jumped on a camel and is so thirsty. And that's what we do when we remove ourselves from the deep oneness, awareness, the deep knowing that God is living through us and through everyone else. And we get into this place of judgment and unforgiveness and criticism and againstness. We're like that little fish riding that camel going, something ain't right. This doesn't feel like how I'm designed to live. As I said, the mystics of all traditions, they agree that love is the nature of reality, including our own Christian tradition. The writer of the first epistle of John, we don't believe it was the actual Apostle John, although who knows, I wasn't around. But this book has a lot of deep mystical understanding of the nature of reality and of love. And starting in chapter 4, verse 7, "Dear friends, let us love one another. For love comes from God, and everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. And whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love." When we're loving, when we're in that givingness, that giving and receivingness of the natural flow of divine energy, when we're in alignment and in harmony with all of creation, we participate in the life of God. We are stepping into the true reality. And when we don't, we have forgotten our birthright. Saying something ain't right about this camel ride. In verse 11 of chapter 4, "Dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us, and His love is made complete in us. This is how we know that we live in Him, and He in us. He has given us His Spirit." And so, we're celebrating this Advent period, this preparation, this preparing ourselves to birth the Christ consciousness. Last week I told you you're pregnant with peace. Do you remember? You're still pregnant. And now we're talking about love. How we are here to reveal divine love. In John 13:35, Jean Marie read from that chapter. This is when Jesus was ending his earthly ministry, and he's speaking to his followers. He says, "A new command I give you, that you love one another." In verse 35, he says, "They will know you. They will know you are my disciples by your love for one another." And so what I want to offer us today is that if we've gotten off the camel and we're returning into the true nature of our calling and our creation, people will see it. We'll be different. See, the master teacher, Jesus, who was an observant Jew, who lived in present-day Palestine around the first century, his teaching was to the Jewish community. And he did observe the laws, but he brought this deeper awareness of the mystical truth that we are one with Spirit, that life is revealing itself to us, through us, and that the kingdom of heaven is not out there, it is within. And he developed this following. He had the multitudes who clung to him for this teaching. Something was happening there. That there was an inspiration that was, people were being lifted into a new understanding of life and of love. And so this sect was formed in Judaism at that time, in that place, that people began to share his teachings, first oral tradition, and then people would write it down. And there were these documents that later became the basis for our Bible. And these documents were shared about this teaching, like, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. This idea that there is something within us where that's where we connect to the true nature of reality. And so as Jesus was preparing to leave the earth, he gathered his disciples around and he said this: "They will know you're following me by the way you love each other." And it's reported that in the first century, the followers of Jesus, they shared all of their good communally. They lived constantly in community, and that is the reality. People saw the way the followers of Jesus loved each other and were committed to each other. They were different because of the way they took up his teaching. And what I want to offer to us this morning is that if we are truly to step into who we are, if we are to get off the camel and drink deeply of the ocean of life that is the true nature of our reality, we are different. Every word we speak is filled and infused with the love of God. Every action we take is motivated by the love of God. Every interaction that we have, people go, something's happened to her. She's showing up a little different. And I know that we live in a time of great polarization and othering. Well, if they would do it right, I would love them. Was that a laugh of recognition? And Jesus said it. We're here to love our enemies, not just our friends. And what he meant by that is, I don't mean you don't have to sit down to Thanksgiving dinner with them. Well, some of them you do because they're your family. But to be willing to recognize the Christ presence in all of them. Yeah, even that other party. To see it, even though it's difficult, maybe. If we can open ourselves to the possibility that God's got something in mind here, that love is seeking to be revealed everywhere, and we're part of the plan. So how do we do it? How then shall we love? Well, it's got to be visible. That's what Jesus said. They'll know you. I had a friend of mine who was a Unity minister, and she said, if you were to be tried in a court of law for being a Unity Truth student, would there be enough evidence to convict you? Ouch. But that's it. There must be a demonstration. Remember I said that Ernest described that love is the self-givingness. There's an impulsion to demonstrate, to create. And so if we're living in love, it will show up in some way. And how do we do it? Well, I think, some of it's natural that we'll choose more loving words. We'll be kinder with each other. But I had a different talk planned for you guys. It was going to be great, I'm telling you. And yesterday, this thing popped in, this idea of givingness, this idea of the impulsion for life to express as love through us. And what I realize is that love will never stop calling us forward. Love will never stop asking us to go a little more, to be a little bit more loving. We're never going to get it. We're never going to arrive. Well, that's as loving as I have to be. Thank God I'm done with that. It will always ask more of us. We are being asked to extend ourselves just as God is always, forever creating. We too, as demonstrations, as expressions of God's nature, are called to always love more. Gary Chapman wrote the book, The 5 Love Languages, or The Languages of Love. We had him here to speak a couple years ago. And he describes that there are different languages, different ways of experiencing and expressing love, and people are different about it. And the 5 languages, he describes them, are number 1, gift giving. Number 2, quality time. Number 3, words of affirmation. 4, acts of service. And 5, physical touch. So you can just kind of feel those. Which ones feel more loving to you? I think what love is asking us to do is learn to speak the other languages. Is to be more loving in a way that our friends and family can feel it from us. I had experienced my first grown-up relationship in my 20s, my first partner, and it was about this time of year, and I was making plans to go see my family in Oklahoma, living in Dallas at the time, and I said, can you take me to the airport on Christmas Eve? And he said, sure, what time are you going? I think it's a 5:30 a.m. flight. And he's like, oh, I'm not doing that. And I remember feeling so unloved, so bereft, and I didn't understand. And it was like years later, and we got through that fine, but I realized my primary love language is acts of service. He spoke a different language. I got some great presents. His gift giving was really his. And what we're being asked to do is pay attention, is give in a way that can be received the best of your ability. Extend yourself beyond your comfort zone to love in a way that you know she would love to get it. You don't like to talk on the phone, but your mom does. Call her. Call her. You're not really a hugger person, and I see you on Sunday morning when we're doing that. But you know that your best friend loves when you hug. Extend yourself. Come forward. And when we do, the light of love is born anew on our planet. We need to learn to be givers and receivers of love. We need to learn to speak multiple languages. I'm not encouraging codependent relationships. If there's no mutuality, that has to be taken into account. And also, you cannot love others if you don't love yourself. Very important. But I'm also asking us not to keep score. Because love doesn't keep score. Love only gives. Love is asking us to let the scorecard go. To be like the giving nature of God. Just giving. This also is from Hafiz. Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." And look what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky. You are being asked, not by me, but by God, to love more than you've ever loved before. You're being asked, because the world needs it, to be more forgiving than you've ever been before. You're being called to live the light of God. And we get to do it together. Something is happening here. You're amazing. Let's get off the camel. God bless you.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.